Thank you for joining us today and welcome to our webinar. We are now about 5 broadcasts in to our webinar series designed for customers with an enterprise agreement. Although this is not just for those customers, it's for anybody looking to leverage GIS for their entire organization. Today we're going to be focusing on making data-driven decisions for enterprise. Throughout our broadcast, we welcome you to ask any questions you might have in the GoToWebinar panel, and we will have a short Q&A at the end. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and pass off to Lee Johnson.
Great, thank you. Nicole, very much appreciated, and thank you everybody for taking some time out of your day. I have Jay Hagan, a solution engineer, on the line with me as well. We'll be doing a demo of a new product that really is a data-driven solution for enterprise. So I'll go over kind of what a few things I want to cover today. As Nicole mentioned, this call is not only for enterprise agreement customers, but the reason we started it was really to establish a communication flow so that those of you that have one have mechanisms and ideas to put into place to maximize the value of that. So whether it's budgeting or people in other departments asking what is GIS or what's capable, to give you the ideas to continue to show what the possible is, because that enterprise agreement does allow for a lot of flexibility. So today I'll just do a brief overview of the enterprise program. We'll talk about some of the various data analytic offerings that we have. And then Jay is going to do an insights demo, and I'm very excited to do that. And I'll preface that with, for those of you that do have an enterprise agreement on the call, please contact your account manager, because in many cases it just takes a signing of an addendum to get you access to insights for your organization. So again, that added value of something that you've already allocated. So again, if after the demo, the insights component, please talk to your account manager, and if you want to get moving, that addendum should be available. So with that, just some quick things real quick. The enterprise license agreement, ELA, or enterprise agreement. So it's one annual license fee. We do these in 3-year contracts, unlimited use of core software. Now, some of the things we talk about later before we do the demo often are not included in that. But it does include maintenance, includes ArcGIS Online, which if you've been on the previous webinars, whether it's open data or our mobile solutions, certainly ArcGIS Online is taking off. Training credits and discounts, and obviously easy use of ArcGIS Server. So because of that, I just want to remind people these are some options we have on population tier pricing that are public. Certainly, again, if you're outside of that 250,000 population range, certainly can talk some options as well, but these are for small governments, mid-sized governments, so that you know consistently what needs to be allocated. And then we have some flexible procurement options. So we also can do within departments. So if you're within the organization that there's a lot of excitement within one department around the ArcGIS platform and wants to grow, but maybe there isn't as much excitement in other places, we can certainly look at some of those options as well. And then the last one I just threw up here, and probably need to zoom this picture in a little bit, and certainly if anybody wants this afterwards, one of the things that we're seeing, and really ties into this analytics component, is the need for solid architecture. And because the enterprise agreement gives that unfettered access to ArcGIS Enterprise, and including the core servers, you really can make sure that you have an ArcGIS platform that has high availability, has security, workload separation. A lot of these things you may be familiar with, but in many cases, unfortunately, sometimes there's a flood in the city or county, and then the servers get hit with the web maps, and all of a sudden the notion of high availability becomes very important. So I'll just say, if you're interested in this slide, my email's at the end, and certainly I can send this with you. It just gives you an idea of kind of the recommended reference architecture. So moving into some of the analysis. So your platform, and each of you have the ability to integrate many types of data. So we'll be focusing on a few of these, probably not so much raster data, but many of these themes are happening throughout government. So whether you're in IT or GIS, somewhere in your county, somebody's asking about IoT, or they're getting calls from vendors about IoT. And business leaders are being asked, well, how is the city or county making decisions with big data? So, but at the same token, even things like tabular data can be spatially analyzed to make better decisions. And the ArcGIS platform provides this context for your data. So you need to deliver timely, data-driven decisions. And so if you look at that far left slide, the real-time sensor feed. So this could be analysis of things like Waze traffic feeds. This could be analysis of sensors that the city has throughout the streets, around lights, around traffic. This could be social media. You can even intake social media. But then you also have the curated authoritative data. So this is more as part of your back office data management workflows, probably using Pro or ArcMap. And then lastly, you might need to do analysis on the authoritative data sets that might go back for several years or months, and you want to look at that historic data and analyze it over time. And ArcGIS supports this analytics and visualization, so we provide the system of insight that allows, kind of to that last slide, whether it's spatial analysis and geoprocessing or big data geoanalytics, or as we'll see in a second from Jason, some interactive exploration. And so these are some of the new techniques in spatial analysis, new and improved tools. So some of you may be doing these. I guess I should move this off. Some of you may be doing these already. Some of these may be new to you, but I think it's a good slide to kind of show some of the things that are possible. So one of the components that often is not part of the core enterprise software is the Geo Analytics Server. And this allows for big data analysis of vector and raster data. For those of you that may have attended the ArcGIS user seminar series that we did in the winter and early spring throughout the U.S., this was used in the Houston power outage example, and also example with flight patterns. So we don't have the video up for that. We did tape the one in Mountain View, California. So I think the end of June that will be up on YouTube. We'll certainly get that out. So if you want to see kind of that Houston power outage demo with Geo Analytics. So this is, again, the massive data, the big data over time is, that can be used in Geo Analytics. So you heard me talk a little bit about Insights. So Insights is an exploratory analysis and visualization tool. And this is really a new app that integrates spatial and tabular analysis. And what I have observed, and what I'm very excited for Jay to do a demo here, is that this tool is exciting to IT and GIS professionals, and it's also very exciting to individuals who have never experienced GIS before. I was at a county in Oregon last week, and just seeing a tabular data imported into Insights for this one department was really, really compelling to them, because they could change on the fly and make simple edits themselves. So this is a very exciting product, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jay. Well, let me just again preface this. So if you have an enterprise agreement and after Jay's demonstration you have further interest, please contact your account manager, because in most cases with the signing of an addendum, you have access to Insights. So again, it's an added value of that enterprise agreement. And if you don't have an enterprise agreement, contact me directly or your account manager. So with that, I will hand it over to Jay.
Cool. Thanks, Lee. Thanks for that introduction. Okay, so yeah, just to kind of get into insights here, I've seen this a lot with the work that I do in my current position, but also in previous jobs working in the public sector, that a lot of us have access to vast amounts of data. We all have lots of data, but often we don't have a whole lot of information that we're getting from that data. That data is kind of locked up. So Insights offers us a nice new way to explore our data and to be able to extract information. And what's really nice is we do all of this within a web browser. So what we're looking at here on my screen, this is Insights. This is an Insights workbook. Let's take a look at some data here. So what this is a representation of automobile accidents in the state of South Dakota since 2004. This is their real data. They sent this over to me. I didn't do any cleaning to it. I just published it as a feature service and put it into Insights. So this is their raw data, essentially. So within this page, we have a number of different cards that illustrate our data. So each one of these is considered a card. Insights gives us a variety of options for visualizing the data. So over here we have a card that shows the type of collision. Here's a time series that's showing collisions over time, collisions by month, and of course a map. All of these cards are interactive. So for example, if I select an accident type here, like a rear-end collision, it selects those types of collisions on the map. So these are all interactive. If we take a look at our map here, we can see that there's 212,000 data points in this data set. So this is able to handle very large data sets. We've seen some examples with well over 1 million data points. So Insights can quickly render this data in the map and in the cards. So just looking at the map here, looking at 212,000 data points, that's probably not too useful, but we can change our symbolization here and change this over to a heat map, and this quickly turns us into a heat map. So now we can start to actually see some patterns that weren't really readily available before. And, no surprise, these traffic accidents are clustering around populated places. So this is the Sioux Falls area in eastern South Dakota, and then this is the Rapid City area in western South Dakota, the two biggest cities. However, we can go a lot further than this, and we can explore the data in a chart for a graphical representation. Let's go down here and let's look at this time series. So just looking at this time series right away, we see another pattern. As I hover on this, this will tell me the month that the spike is. So every month or every year, we're seeing a spike in November. And if we take a look at our months by collision chart here, this confirms this. November, on average, has about 25,000 traffic accidents when the other 12 months are averaging about 16,000. So there's a nice spike there happening in November. So when I looked at this, I wasn't exactly sure what was going on. I thought maybe it could be Thanksgiving or holiday travel, or maybe even the end of daylight saving time. People forget how to drive at night, maybe. I don't know. So what I did is I wanted to take a closer look and see if I could narrow down the time frame. So let's do that. Let's go in here, and I want to apply a filter on this particular card, and I'm going to do this based on the date. And instead of looking at this entire time frame from 2004 to 2016, I just want to look at a smaller chunk. Let's just grab about 3 years here and apply that. So once I filtered this down to a smaller date range, we start to see a little bit more variability in the trend. Still, we do see a pronounced spike in November. However, looking at this now, it's the second week of November that the spike is actually happening in generally. And I did that for the entire data set, and it played out that way through 2004. So being the second week, that kind of rules out Thanksgiving travel, and it rules out daylight saving time. So I wasn't exactly sure what was going on here. So you can use Insights' powerful data tools to get a better sense of what might be the leading factor here. So I got rid of our filter here. We're looking at the entire data set. And I want to group these accidents, and I want to group these by the manner of collision so I can get an idea of what's happening. So now I'm taking a look at the exact same data here, but it's split up into the manner of collision. So I still see that spike in November, but when I hover over it, it says wild animal hit. So these are wild animal collisions that are happening in November. And if you're a deer hunter, you probably know that the deer rut takes place in the second week of November. So that's likely the main cause of these spikes and accidents. So, just by organizing my data here in a few different ways, I was able to actually gather some pretty powerful information here. So let's remove our group here. So now that we know what the issue is in November, let's take a look at only those collisions that are animal related. So I can come over here to my crash data and go to manner of collision and apply a filter. And I only want to look at wild animal hit. When I apply a filter over here, this gets applied to all of my cards. So now all of my cards are going to update just to show wild animal hit. And we can see that right here. So now we can explore the trends that are related only to the animal collisions. So just looking at the map now, it looks a little bit different now. Some of the more rural areas are starting to fill in a little bit more through the hotspot here. And this is giving us some general clues about trouble spots for animal collisions. However, we may ask ourselves, what is the spatial distribution of these types of collisions? And we have the tools here to answer that. So we can go into our action button here, and we have analytical tools here. So if you're more of a GIS professional, you might be able to work with these tools, or you may just have a question that you want answered. I want to know, how is this distributed? And I want to calculate a density. So I'm going to run this. So this is going to give us a better indication of how these collisions are distributed across the state, which is going to give us a better and more realistic interpretation of what's happening. So while this is processing, I want to bring in some more data to this page. So we know we have an issue with animals running in front of vehicles, especially in November, and soon we're going to have an idea of where the main trouble spots are. However, something we might want to look at is, what is the placement of animal crossing signs? So the DOT puts up signs warning people of animal crossings. Where are they putting those at? So let's add some data here. So you can see here that data can come from a variety of sources. It can come from ArcGIS feature services. It can come from a database like SQL or SAP HANA. In the future, in the next release, we'll be supporting Oracle and Postgres as well. So this is a newer product, so we're continually adding enhancements here. Or I could even bring in an Excel spreadsheet. And that's what I want to do here. Let's just take a look real quick. This is the Excel spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet of all of the signs that the South Dakota Department of Transportation maintains. However, there's really no location information. This is just a list of all of the signs that they have. I'm going to bring this Excel spreadsheet in. I'm going to close this, and I can just add this spreadsheet. So it's taking that spreadsheet and it's adding that to my work page here. Now, since that is just a spreadsheet, it doesn't have any location information, I want to bring in some other data here that I can make use of. So I have a feature service that shows the location of sign assemblies, essentially the sign post. I'm going to bring that in as well. So I'm going to add these two things to my page here. So now this is bringing in where the signposts are located, and that's not too useful to me. However, I can create a relationship between the signpost geography and that table of spreadsheet of signs. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to grab my sign table and my sign geography, create a relationship, and now it's just asking me for the common field between the two, and it happens to be assembly GUID. So let's find assembly GUID here for our spreadsheet of signs and assembly GUID for signpost. So this is actually able to do a one-to-many or many-to-one, because if you think about it, on a given signpost, there could be more than one sign on that. So that's pretty powerful there. So we'll finish this. And now it's building that relationship for me. Okay, so now we can start to view the location. And you can see, anytime I want to add a new card, all I have to do is just grab what I want, drag it, and I can drop it. And it's asking me what I want to do. In this case, I want to look at a map. And right now I'm looking at a map of every single sign within the state of South Dakota. I'm not too interested in that though. I just want to look at those signs that are animal crossing signs. So again, I can apply a filter here. And I could just do a search here. So I have an animal crossing field within my data. So I'll grab that. And I only want those that are animal crossing signs. So now I can apply that. And this is going to update my map. So now I'm just looking at those locations that have animal crossing signs. Okay, so while we were doing that, our spatial analysis finished. So let's turn off this layer. So now here we can take a look at those locations that are statistically significant as far as where people are hitting animals with their vehicles. So now we can start to make some comparisons here. I might want to take a look at where are those locations where people are hitting animals and where are our signs located. And just to look at this from a statewide level, let's just kick this over to a heat map. And we can see that generally, just looking from the state level, it seems like we're clustering our animal crossing signs in roughly the same areas where people are hitting animals. So that's good. But now I can sync these two maps and do some further exploration here. So I'm going to sync my maps, and now I can start to explore some different areas here. One spot I noticed was right here on I-90. This is showing up as a statistically significant hotspot where people are actually hitting a lot of animals. But we can see here, and I'll even switch this back to our single symbol here, there's actually no animal crossing signs here. This is an area where people are hitting a lot of animals, but there's no warning. We have to go all the way back up towards Rapid City before we see our first sign, I think. Yeah, there's a few in Rapid City here. So that's some very important information. This is actually actionable information. This would probably be pretty valuable for the Department of Transportation to have. So we can actually share this with the DOT. Before I do that, I want to show you one thing here. Let's take a look at our analysis view. Every step that we've done so far is being logged here in our analysis view. So whoever I share this with, they can actually look and see what steps I took to arrive at these conclusions. Another cool thing is that you could share this analysis view, and I could give this to a different state, and they could just add their data, pour their data in here, and it will populate all of those cards. That's going to assume that you have the same, it's going to be looking for the same attribute names and so forth, but if you have your data structured in the same way, you can just dump your data in here, and you're off and running. So now that I have this, I may want to take this page, and I can actually share this. So I can share my page, and I'm given a few options. Just if you're familiar with ArcGIS Online or Portal, it's using the same sharing mechanism. So I could share this with the public, but in this case, I probably just want to share this with a group, and I want to share it with my South Dakota DOT group. I can share this page, and then I have a few options here. I could just give them this link here, and they would be able to open this and explore this data. The cards are still interactive here, so they can go in and explore some of these same areas that we did. So that's pretty valuable there. Okay, let's close this out now.
Hey Jay, this is Lee.
Yeah.
So some of these people might have been on our last call, and we did a demo around open data. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about the public, another thing that could be done, right, is taking some or all of the cards and publishing them out to an Esri ArcGIS open data site, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll actually see some of that here. So yeah, I could take that same page, share that publicly, and then I could share that link out, or I could embed that into something like open data, story map, or really any type of web page. So I want to go through one more example here. So here we're looking at the exact same data again. Still thinking about the DOT, safety is the #1 priority of the DOT, so mitigating animal collisions is an important step towards that. But another type of accident that we might want to look at are accidents with injuries. So let's filter our data to just look at those crashes, the worst crashes essentially. And we're looking for injury severity here. And instead of looking at all accidents, I just want to look at fatal and incapacitating accidents. So those are the worst accidents there. So we filtered that down. And if we take a look here, we're still looking at 10,000 data points. That's still a lot of data to look at. But instead of looking at this at a statewide view, I want to aggregate this data to the county level and see if we can find any patterns there. So I'm going to go to my Geographies tab here, and I have some geography available to me. I want to take a look at this by county. So I'm going to take county, I'm going to drag this onto the map. So I could just add this as a layer, filter by county, or in this case, I want to do spatial aggregation. I want to put each one of those points into its given county. So let's run this. And pretty quickly, this is going to take those 10,000 points and assign those to each county. So I'd rather look at this as a choropleth. Let's change this over. So we can see, just looking at this now, we see similar patterns that we did before. Accidents are happening in more populated places. That's really no surprise. There's more people, more cars, more accidents. But as I was looking at this, I'm seeing a higher number of accidents in western South Dakota than I might expect. Other than Rapid City, this area is pretty rural. So let's take a look at a scatter plot here and explore the relationship between population and severe injury traffic accidents. So let's take a look at this. So this is our combined county and accident record here. I'm going to look at population and the count of crashes, and I want a chart of that. So now I'm looking at a scatter plot. I could add linear statistics here. Okay, so if you remember your statistics classes from high school, which I didn't, but an R value close to 1 shows a strong relationship. So in other words, as population goes up, traffic accidents tend to go up. That makes sense. However, if you're below this line, you're probably having more accidents than we would expect to see given your population. So as I interact with these, I'm clicking on these. If you look at the map, here I'll zoom in a little bit here so we can see what's going on. It's all of these counties in the west. So these are the ones that are standing out. So, it wasn't just me that noticed that. Statistically, these counties are having more accidents than you'd probably expect based on their population. So let's get rid of our scatter plot here. So one of these counties that stands out is Meade County. So let's explore Meade County a little bit more here. So let's go to our crash data, and let's look at county, and let's just look at Meade County, explore this county a little bit further. So I'm going to filter to only show Meade. There's 517 fatal and incapacitating accidents happening in Meade. And again, let's look at some statistics here. So I'm going to drag this over, create a chart. And again, we're seeing a spike. And if I take a look at this by month, we'll bring that in as well. We see a spike just like we did with the animal collisions. However, when I look at this, that spike is now happening in August for these fatal and incapacitating accidents. And we look at the by month here, that really stands out. 193 accidents in August when the other months average 43. So if you are familiar with South Dakota and Meade County, that is where Sturgis is. So every month they have the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, and it happens in August. So that's obviously the cause of these accidents. But just being able to visualize this and point this out is very important, because if you have 26 fatal and incapacitating accidents in a rural county, how do you deal with that? I mean, there isn't a level 1 trauma center anywhere near this area. How do you prepare for that? One other thing we want to look at is, how does alcohol play into this? So I'm going to bring in alcohol use, and we can see here that alcohol is a cause in about a quarter of these accidents. So are there things that we could do to kind of target alcohol use, things like that? Let's take a look at where these accidents are happening. So let's just bring our location on here, and we'll do a heat map again. And here we can see kind of where these accidents are concentrated. This is Sturgis right here. This is the road that leads down to Rapid City. So this is a pretty busy area. But some other areas are sticking out to me too. This is a pretty rural road here. So I was trying to figure out maybe what was going on here. It turns out this is a very curvy, hilly road. And if we take a look at ArcGIS Earth, that's what we have here, look at that same road, you can kind of get a sense for what this area is like, and you can see it's very hilly, rugged, and if you're not from the area, you may not be used to riding in this type of terrain. So just maybe being able to put up some warning signs to warn riders to slow down and so forth could be very important. If we take a look at the manner of collision here, I can visualize this in a number of ways. Let's take a look at this as a tree map. And some of the leading causes here are no collision between two moving vehicles and transport. In other words, these aren't people hitting each other. These are people basically just wrecking their bikes. You know, they're tipping them over. They're running into signs. Could be things like that. So just being able to have that information is very, very valuable. So again, I think this is valuable information, and again, we'd probably want to share this. So if I go to share my page here, this time I might want to share this with the public and make the public aware of what's going on. So I can share this. It gives me a link to this page, but it's also giving me the iframe code to embed this into a web page. So I could take this and embed this into something like a story map. So here I could promote the event, but also remind riders to be vigilant. So they could see this exact same view here, see what's going on, where the accident's happening, how does alcohol play a role, provide that information to the public. So really, with the power of insights here, you can use your data to help drive decision making, and you can share that information to keep others informed. And really, you're being able to tell the story like it's never been told before. One other thing I want to show, so we've been looking at point data here throughout this demonstration. Just real quickly here, this also works with line and polygon data. So this is just looking at segmented crash data in the state of Indiana. Just want to show you this interacts in the exact same way. So I can see here that, you know, State Route 37 in Indiana, somebody's run some analysis on this and brought this into insights and just visualizing this in a different way. If you know, we all work in government. If you need to segment this by, in this case, these are DOT districts or congressional districts or whatever type of districts you may have, you know, your stakeholders, that this is what they're going to want to look at. You can divide this data up in really any way you need. So that's all I've got. We do have time for questions or comments, or if Lee has anything he'd like to add.
Yeah, I just I think thank you, Jay. This is outstanding and really a great demonstration. I think the part that I would just continue to stress is that there's really all kinds of data combinations that are really set forth by what you have access to, what features, layers, et cetera. So it can be as simple as a tabular data set, or as Jay showed, even pulling in some visualization like ArcGIS Earth. So it's meant to accommodate both the needs of a GIS professional, but also maybe a data scientist or a department leader that has a staff that wants to do some analysis and insights. So just really appreciate that. So yeah, we have some time for questions. I think the first one that was on is estimation of Oracle integration. I don't know that I have an answer for that.
That will be the user conference release, so probably by July.
Excellent. And there is here the current, let me share the current supported. So here's what's currently supported. Did that go through? Yeah. All right, we have time. Anybody on the call from a live? Can we open up Nicole as far as questions? If anybody has some questions that they want to answer, not on the chat. Oh, we had another chat come through. Let's see. Can you email a copy of the demo? I don't think we can. I'll defer to you, Jay, but
I have a recording of this demo. I can send you that if you'd like to see that, a video. I can send that along. Or, yeah, I'm not sure what would be the easiest way to do that. Can we distribute that to everybody?
Yeah, we could send it out after the post notes.
Okay.
And then we got a question on the how can we get a copy of Insights to test it? So if you want to test it, again, kind of two things. One, if you have an enterprise agreement, contact your account manager, because with an addendum, a certain number of seats will be added of Insights depending on the agreement. So you can get your hands on it pretty easily. And if you don't have an enterprise agreement, I would say still talk to your account manager, because they could talk to you about different options for a trial or demo or just outright purchase. So, but if you don't know who your account manager is, or you have questions on that, certainly I'll put up Jay's email, my email at the end for contact information.
And just from a technical standpoint, some prerequisites, you need to be running 10.5 Enterprise, so that means ArcGIS Server with ArcGIS Portal, the data store, and the web adapter. We do have some packages that can help you deploy that software quickly now. We have what's called a Chef Cookbook. It's available on GitHub, and what it allows you to do is quickly stand up the enterprise-based deployment, and then once that's stood up, you can configure Insights on top of that.
Yeah, so the question, if we have an enterprise account, is the addendum Insights free? Yeah, so until the next negotiation of the enterprise agreement, that's what the addendum calls for. So it's essentially we're adding it into your existing agreement. And if there's any hiccups with that, certainly, again, contact me individually. But you know, if your agreement's up in 2 weeks, might not feel quite as great as versus if it's up in 3 years. But yes, that's the purpose of the addendum, is to add that into the agreement.
So the question is, this only works with 10.5? Yes. So the server deployment is 10.5. However, on the client side, it's just a web browser, and it works really almost in any web browser. But yes, as far as the back end, you do need to have 10.5 server and portal installed.
So I'm going to put my email and Jay's email in the chat, just so you can contact us individually as well. Any other questions come through? Something about portal.
It doesn't work with our, at this time it's portal, yes.
Other questions? Anybody else? Comments? No.
If there's nothing else, I will get the video sent out. We'll get that to you so you can watch the demo again. And then, of course, you know, feel free to reach out to Lee or me if there's any other questions about getting going with this.
Great. Well, thank you, Jay, and thank you, everyone, for joining today. Hopefully this spatial data analysis tool is valuable to you and your organizations. And as mentioned, reach out to us directly with any questions, or certainly if your account manager with that addendum to get Insights going. So we're happy to help and appreciate everybody's time today.
Yeah, everyone have a great afternoon.
Great. Thank you.